Whoa, what's going on here?
This is a painting of the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. It took place in France in 1572.
Wow, look at all this violence. It must have been a terrible event.
It sure was, and that's what we will be talking about today.
Let's start with some background information.
Right. The French wars of religion had been raging between the Catholics and the Huguenots, or French Calvinists.
In August of 1570, the fighting stopped for a time with the Peace of Saint-Germain.
Yes, however, this peace wasn't very strong. Many Catholics refused to accept it, especially the Guise family. They were one of the leading Catholic noble families.
The King of France at this time was Charles IX. He was young, and not a very good leader. France was actually being run by his mother, Catherine de' Medici.
Yes, and Catherine was determined to keep the religious peace. To try to smooth relations between the two religious parties, she arranged a marriage between her daughter Margaret, and a prominent Protestant prince, Henry of Navarre.
Well, that sounds like a good way to bring both sides closer together.
One might think so, but the idea was not accepted by many strong Catholics, or the Pope. As a matter of fact, Catherine had a difficult time finding a Catholic priest to actually perform the marriage.
However, despite the problems, the marriage took place in Paris on August 18, 1572.
Oh, that sounds like it could lead to trouble.
Who was that guy?
I don't know. Some French dude.
He was kind of creepy. Let's go somewhere else in case he comes back.
Here, this looks like a better location.
So, Margaret and Henry of Navarre were married. Henry's fellow Huguenot nobles, who had come for the wedding, stayed in Paris.
Right. Among these nobles was Admiral Gaspard de Coligny. He was the political and military leader of the Huguenots.
On August 22, Coligny was returning to his lodgings when he was shot in the street from an upstairs window.
He wasn't killed, but he was seriously wounded.
Hey, do they know who ordered the hit on him?
That's a good question. Too bad there isn't a good answer. History gives us 3 possible suspects.
Perhaps it was the Guise family. They were strong Catholics. Also, the shot came from a house they owned.
Or it could have been the king's mother, Catherine. She may have been worried about the influence Coligny had amongst the Protestants.
A third possibility was the Duke of Alba. He governed the Spanish Netherlands. Spain may have been worried French Protestants would get involved there.
Well, they all sound guilty to me.
This attempted assassination triggered a crisis for France.
Yes. In fear of the danger of reprisals from the Protestants, King Charles IX went to visit Coligny. He promised that those responsible would be caught and punished.
Yeah, right. That sounds like an empty promise to me.
Well, regardless of that, while the king was visiting Coligny, another event was happening with his mother.
While she was eating dinner, a group of Protestants burst in demanding justice. Apparently, they were rather menacing toward her.
The following night, August 23rd, Catherine met with her son, the king. It was the eve of St. Bartholomew's Day.
While there's no record of what was said, the events that were to follow allow one to speculate. It seems fairly obvious that Catherine and Charles were making a hit list of prominent Protestant nobles.
That evening, authorities were ordered to bar the city gates and arm the citizens in order to prevent any type of Protestant uprising.
The exact chronology of what happened next is difficult to determine. It seems that early in the morning of the 24th, church bells were rung as a signal. Guards quickly forced the Protestant nobles into the streets and slaughtered them.
Henry of Guise personally led a group to go after Coligny. He was in bed recovering from the assassination attempt. They quickly killed him and threw his body out the window.
These actions by government guards caused a wave of popular violence to erupt.
Yes. Common people began to hunt Protestants throughout the city and massacre them.
Even women and children were slaughtered.
The bodies of the dead were collected in carts and dumped in the river.
This massacre went on for 3 days despite the king's attempts to stop it.
Yes. It seems clear that the government only meant to kill off the Protestant nobles. There is no evidence they intended a wholesale slaughter.
Hey, speaking of nobles, what happened to the newly married Henry of Navarre?
He and his cousin were captured. Their lives were spared when they promised to convert to Catholicism. Of course, once they left Paris, they both renounced their promises.
So, we have 3 days of terrible violence in Paris. Did this spread to any other areas?
Well, let's find out.
Whoa, I see more violence here.
Even though the king dispatched orders to his provincial governors to prevent violence elsewhere, 12 other cities saw similar massacres take place.
It's interesting to note that in all 12 cities, there was a large Protestant minority.
On top of this, all of these cities had experienced serious religious division during the earlier religious wars. As a matter of fact, each had fallen under Protestant control for brief periods.
Perhaps memories of that, on the part of the Catholics, or maybe simply a desire for revenge, contributed to this.
Yes, quite. Well, we should take a look at the death toll and wrap this up. I believe you're standing on a dead body.
Oh, sorry.
So, estimates vary widely as to how many died during the massacre.
At the low end, we see estimates of between 5 and 10,000. Higher estimates say maybe as many as 20 to 30,000.
The fact is, we will never know exactly how many were killed. But whatever the number, it truly was a massacre.
It sure was. And all these bodies lying around are creeping me out. I think I'm going to get out of here.
Hey! Watch where you walk.